I always thought a prenup was like a bulletproof vest. Turns out if you're not careful, it's just a piece of paper that can be ripped in half. At least that's what my ex-wife tried to tell a judge. Let me start from the beginning, and I mean the real beginning, not the wedding, not the honeymoon. The part where I was just a guy with cement dust under his fingernails and a dream that wouldn't let me sleep. I'm 45 years old. I run a commercial construction company in Phoenix, Arizona. 3 heavy-duty Ford F550s, a couple of Caterpillar excavators, and enough concrete forms and steel reinforcement to build half the valley. On paper, I'm worth about $800,000. Sounds nice, right? Sounds like I should be on some golf course somewhere, drinking beer and complaining about my handicap. But here's what people don't understand about owning a construction business. You're equipment rich and cash poor. Every dollar I make goes right back into those machines. Fuel, insurance, equipment, payments, permit fees. Just keeping those trucks running cost me $12,000 a month. I work 70 hours a week. I haven't taken a real vacation since Trump's first term. My accountant tells me I'm doing well. Meanwhile, I'm eating gas station sandwiches at 6 a.m. because I don't have time to sit down for breakfast. That's the life. And then I met her. She was 28 when we started dating. Auburn hair, hazel eyes, the kind of smile that made you forget you had a 5 a.m. job site meeting. She worked as an interior designer for some high-end firm in Scottsdale. Rich people's houses, million-dollar makeovers, the whole 9 yards. At first, it was perfect. She didn't care that my hands were always rough from handling rebar. She said she admired a man who built things that lasted. She would bring me coffee at the job site around noon. She would rub my shoulders when I came home smelling like concrete dust and diesel exhaust. I thought I'd found the one. We dated for 18 months. When I turned 44, I decided to propose. Got down on one knee at this fancy steakhouse in Scottsdale. She cried. I cried. The whole restaurant applauded. But here's the thing about being 44 with nearly $1 million in assets and a 30-year-old fiancé. People talk. My lawyer called me 3 days later. Guy named Bryce Anderson, been with me since I bought my second excavator. He said, "Congratulations, Shane. Now let's talk about protecting your business." I didn't want to hear it. He said it anyway. You need a prenup, non-negotiable. You've got commercial equipment, active contracts, accounts receivable worth 6 figures at any given time. If this marriage goes sideways, she could take half of everything. And in Arizona, it's community property. Doesn't matter if she cheats. Doesn't matter if she empties your accounts and disappears to Cabo. The court splits everything 50-50 unless you have documentation saying otherwise. I told him Ashley wasn't like that. He said, they never are until they are. So I had the conversation with her. Worst dinner of my life. I sat across from her at our kitchen table and told her my lawyer was insisting on a prenup. I watched her face change. Not angry, just calculating. Like she was running numbers in her head. She asked what was in it. I told her the truth. She would get a settlement based on how long we were married, but there was a clause, a waiver of spousal support if she was unfaithful. If she cheated, she would get nothing. She got quiet for a long time. Then she said something I'll never forget. "So you don't trust me?" I said, "It's not about trust. It's about protecting something I spent 15 years building." She shook her head slowly, like she was thinking. Then she smiled and said, "Okay, I'll sign it." But here's the part that should have been my warning. She hired her own lawyer, a woman named Nicole Johnson, sharp and expensive. Johnson reviewed the prenup and told Ashley point blank, "Do not sign this. The infidelity clause is aggressive. If he ever catches you doing anything, you walk away with nothing." Ashley signed it anyway. At the time, I thought that meant she loved me, that she was so confident in our future that the clause didn't scare her. Looking back, she signed it because she thought she was smarter than me. She thought she could handle me, keep me happy enough, distracted enough, blind enough that I would never catch on. She was wrong. We got married in March of 2021, a small ceremony of about 40 people. She wore white. I wore a suit that cost more than my first truck payment. We honeymooned in Sedona for a week. It was the most relaxed I'd been in years. I remember one night sitting on the hotel balcony, she asked me where I kept important documents. I told her I had a fireproof safe in my home office. Birth certificate, passport, equipment titles, the prenup, all of it locked up tight. She said, "Oh, okay," and sipped her wine. I didn't think anything of it at the time. When we got back, everything went right back to normal. Me at the job site by 5:30 a.m., home by 7 p.m. if I was lucky. Weekends spent doing paperwork or maintaining equipment that couldn't afford to break down. She said she understood. For a while, I believed her. The first year was fine. We were still in that honeymoon phase where you overlook the small stuff. The second year, things started to shift. She got bored. I could see it. She would complain about the house being too quiet, about me never being around. She started going out more, shopping at Scottsdale Fashion Square, getting her nails done twice a week, buying clothes for clients that she only wore once. I didn't say anything. I figured she deserved to enjoy the lifestyle. I was the one who couldn't give her my time, so the least I could give her was financial freedom. By year 3, we barely talked. And that's when the shopping trips started getting longer. Now, I need to explain something about my work truck. The Ford F550 I drive every day wasn't registered in my personal name. It was owned by my company, listed as commercial equipment for tax purposes, which means I had it on the same tracking and monitoring system as all my heavy machinery, GPS location services, telematics, and a commercial-grade dash cam system I use for liability protection and insurance discounts. She hated that camera when I first installed it, said it felt like I was spying on her when she borrowed the truck. I told her it was just for insurance, that the footage only got pulled if there was an accident or a claim. I didn't mention the real-time alerts. I didn't mention I could access the feed remotely from my phone whenever I wanted. She stopped worrying about it after a few months. The F550 was the only vehicle she had access to during the day. I drove my personal truck to job sites when I needed to haul equipment. If she wanted to go anywhere while I was working, she took the Ford. She didn't have a choice. I kept the F550 on a separate profile in my fleet management app, tagged it as Unit 4 so it wouldn't get mixed up with the excavators, but it ran through the same system. Same alerts, same remote access, same motion-activated recording. It started on a Tuesday. I was at a commercial site in Tempe, going over concrete pour schedules when my phone buzzed. Fleet alert, Unit 4 stationary for 4 hours, location, Scottsdale Fashion Square. The tracking system was hardwired into the truck's electrical system. Didn't matter if the engine was running or not. It was always on, always pinging location data back to the server. That's how I knew where my excavators were parked overnight. That's how I'd get an alert if one of them moved when it shouldn't. And that's how I got an alert when my work truck sat in a mall parking lot for 4 hours in the middle of a Tuesday. Even after that, I wasn't suspicious. At least not yet, I figured. Maybe the truck had mechanical problems, or she'd met a client there. So I pulled up the remote camera feed to check, and what I saw changed everything. The footage was motion activated, started recording the moment she got in the truck that morning. I watched her drive to the mall parking lot, watched her pull into a spot on the far end, away from other cars. She backed in. She always backed in. Said she liked being able to pull straight out when she left. I never thought anything of it before, but that habit meant the forward camera faced outward toward the parking lot, and I watched a white BMW X7 pull right up in front of her. The camera caught everything through the windshield. She got out of the truck, walked around to the BMW, and kissed the driver through his window. A real passionate kiss, the kind that tells you everything you need to know. Then she walked around to the passenger side, got in his car, and they drove off together. 4 hours later, he dropped her, back off in the same spot. She got back in my truck, and the cabin camera caught her fixing her makeup in the mirror before she drove home like nothing happened. My stomach wasn't in knots. That's what people always say, right? My stomach was in knots. Mine wasn't. I sat there in my office trailer for about 30 minutes staring at the screen. Then I did something smart. I didn't scream, I didn't call her, I didn't confront her. I downloaded the clip, saved it to 3 different hard drives, emailed a copy to myself, emailed a copy to Bryce Anderson. And I waited. For 5 weeks I watched her go to that mall parking lot 9 more times. Same spot, same white BMW, same routine. Always backed in, always facing outward. I documented everything. Dates, times, screenshots. I built a case file like I was a prosecutor. The guy driving the BMW was Cole Peterson. Took me 2 weeks to figure out his name. He worked at a luxury car dealership in Scottsdale, sold BMWs and Mercedes too. People who had more money than sense. Made good commission, drove whatever was on the lot, always had access to demo vehicles. Made sense why Ashley was attracted to him. He represented everything I wasn't. Clean hands, expensive suits, worked in air conditioning all day. Probably never had concrete dust in his hair or diesel fuel on his clothes. And then I called Anderson. He watched the footage without saying a word. When it was over, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You've got her. The infidelity clause is ironclad. She signed it knowing the consequences. With this evidence, she gets nothing." I filed for divorce the next week. I thought it was going to be open and shut. I was wrong. Her lawyer Johnson came out swinging. The first hearing was supposed to be routine, just preliminary motions. But Johnson had a different plan. She didn't deny the affair. She didn't argue about the footage. She attacked the prenup itself. She stood up in that courtroom and said the prenup was invalid. I almost laughed. I watched this woman sign it. I watched her own lawyer tell her not to sign it, and now she's claiming it's invalid. But then Johnson explained her argument. She said that on our honeymoon in Sedona, I had a change of heart. She said I felt guilty about making my new bride sign such an aggressive contract. She said I told Ashley where I kept the prenup in our home safe and promised her that when we got back, I would destroy it. And according to Johnson, that's exactly what I did. She claimed that the week after we returned from Sedona, I took both copies of the prenup out of the safe, mine and Ashley's, and tore them up in front of her as a gesture of love and trust. She said I told Ashley that our lawyers had copies on file, but they didn't matter because we would never need them. I sat there with my mouth open. That never happened, not one word of it. But Ashley took the stand, and she swore under oath that it did. She looked right at the judge and said, "The week after we got home from Sedona, he sat me down in his office. He opened the safe, took out both copies, and tore them in half right in front of me. He said from now on, we were equal partners. He said he was sorry he ever made me sign it." Her eyes were wet. Her voice cracked at all the right moments. She was good. And the judge bought it, at least enough to pause the case. He said we had a material dispute about the validity of the prenup. He said until it was resolved, we would have to proceed as if the prenup might not exist, which meant Ashley could be entitled to 50% of everything. 50% of my equipment, 50% of my contracts, 50% of the business I spent 15 years building, $400,000. But it got worse. The judge froze my personal accounts pending the dispute, said it was standard procedure to prevent asset dissipation. He didn't want me hiding money before the divorce was final. The business account stayed open. Technically, the company could still operate. But here's what people don't understand. I pay myself through draws from the company. That's how I cover my mortgage, my truck payments, my personal bills. When the judge froze my personal accounts, he also put a restriction on my business draws. Suddenly, I couldn't move money from the company to myself. My credit line got flagged. My business credit card got frozen because it was tied to a personal guarantee. Everything started to cascade. I had 4 employees counting on me. The company could make payroll, but I was drowning personally. I couldn't pay my mortgage. I couldn't pay Anderson's retainer. I was leveraged to the hilt, watching my life's work get strangled because my ex-wife told a lie about a piece of paper. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I lost 12 pounds in 2 weeks. I needed proof that she was lying, and that's when Anderson mentioned digital forensics. He said in divorce cases involving disputed evidence, we could subpoena the other party's electronic devices, phones, tablets, computers. The court could compel her to hand them over for examination. I said, she'll just delete everything. Anderson smiled. He said, people always think deleting something makes it disappear. It doesn't. Everything leaves a trail. We filed the motion. Her lawyer fought it, but the judge granted it. Ashley had to surrender her phone for forensic examination. She handed it over with a smirk on her face. Wiped clean. Factory reset. She thought she was so smart. But she forgot about one thing. That old iPad. When we first started dating, she had this iPad. Space gray. She used it for everything back then. Design apps, social media, iMessage. After we got married, she upgraded her phone and stopped carrying the iPad around, but she didn't get rid of it. She kept it plugged in on the nightstand in the guest room, used it to watch Netflix when she couldn't sleep. Sometimes she would use it as a backup alarm. It sat there for 2 years, connected to the Wi-Fi, synced to her iCloud account, quietly backing up every message that came through. She wiped her phone, but she forgot the iPad was linked to the same Apple ID. Forgot it had been receiving her iMessages this whole time. Anderson amended our discovery request. Added language requesting any devices linked to her Apple ID or iCloud account, regardless of current usage status. Her lawyer tried to fight it. Said it was a phishing expedition. The judge disagreed. He said if she had devices that might contain relevant communications, they were fair game. Anderson's forensic expert went through that iPad, and it was like cracking open a time capsule. Everything was still there. 2 years of texts, photos, emails, all backed up automatically, synced through iCloud, sitting there waiting to be found. And buried in those messages, we found the smoking gun. It was a text to her sister Brittany, dated about 4 months ago. Long after the honeymoon. Long after she claimed I destroyed the prenup. The text said, "I can't just leave. You know what I signed. It's not like that paper magically disappeared. He keeps everything in that safe in his office. If I walk out now, I'm completely screwed." I read that message probably 15 times. It's not like that paper magically disappeared. He keeps everything in that safe. 4 months ago, 2.5 years after she claimed I tore up both copies in front of her, she admitted in her own words to her own sister that the prenup still existed, that she knew exactly where it was, that she was only staying because she was afraid of what would happen if she left. She buried herself. Anderson filed an emergency motion, submitted the text as evidence, requested an immediate hearing. 2 weeks later, we were back in court. Johnson tried to spin it, said the text was taken out of context, said that paper could have referred to something else, said there was no way to verify the message was authentic, but the forensic examiner took the stand. He explained chain of custody, metadata, timestamps, device identifiers. He showed how the message synced from her phone to her iCloud to the iPad. He proved beyond any reasonable doubt that the message was real, unaltered, and sent from her device. The judge looked at Ashley. She looked at the table. He asked her directly, "Ma'am, did you send this text message?" Her lawyer objected. The judge overruled. Ashley sat there for a long time. 10 seconds, 15. It felt like an hour. And then, in a voice that was barely loud enough to hear, she said, "Yes." The judge rolled his eyes after that. He said he had heard her testimony about the week after the honeymoon. He had heard her swear under oath that I destroyed both copies of the prenup in front of her, and now he had evidence in her own words that proved that testimony was demonstrably false. He said her story was a fabrication, a deliberate attempt to defraud me and mislead the court. Then he made his ruling. The prenup was valid and enforceable. Both copies were still in my safe. I produced them as evidence. The originals were still on file with Anderson's office. Her entire defense was a lie. Based on the dash cam footage showing clear evidence of an extramarital affair, the infidelity clause was triggered. Ashley had forfeited all claims to spousal support and division of premarital assets. She got nothing. 0 alimony, 0% of my business. 0 claim on my equipment, my contracts, my accounts. The prenup did exactly what it was designed to do. But the judge wasn't done. He said that her fabricated defense constituted bad faith litigation. She knowingly presented false testimony to the court. She wasted 4 months of judicial resources. She forced me to spend 5 figures on forensic experts and emergency motions to prove something that should have been obvious from the start. Under Arizona's litigation misconduct statute, he had the authority to sanction her. He invoked fee shifting. That's a legal term. Means the losing party has to pay the winning party's legal costs when they've engaged in bad faith. Anderson had been billing $350 an hour for 6 months, plus $200 an hour for the forensic analyst, court reporters, filing fees, expert witness fees, emergency motion costs. The total came to $87,000, and the judge ordered her to pay every penny of it. I watched her face when he said the number. All that confidence she had walking into court, all that smirking and scheming, gone. She looked at Johnson like she was hoping for some kind of lifeline. Johnson just shook her head. There was nothing left to say. The hearing ended. I shook Anderson's hand. He told me congratulations, but I didn't feel like celebrating. I felt tired. I walked out of that courthouse into the parking lot. The sun was too bright. Everything felt surreal. I saw her standing by the curb, waiting, for a rideshare. No more company truck, no more BMW boyfriend to pick her up. Just a woman in expensive clothes with nothing in her pockets but debt. She saw me looking. For a second I thought she was going to say something. Apologize, maybe. Explain something. But she just looked away. And I realized I didn't care anymore. 6 months later, I heard through Anderson that Ashley had to sell her jewelry collection to make payments on the legal fees. Her sister Brittany told someone who told Anderson that Ashley had moved back in with her parents in Tucson. The luxury lifestyle was over. The expensive clothes, the twice-weekly nail appointments, the shopping trips to Fashion Square, all of it gone. Cole Peterson, the BMW dealer, stopped returning her calls about a week after the court ruling became public record. Funny how that works. When she had money and status, he was all over her. When she became a liability with an $87,000 debt hanging over her head, suddenly he was too busy to answer his phone. Anderson told me the court referred her case to the district attorney's office. Turns out, when you lie under oath and a judge catches you red-handed, most of the time they don't just let it slide. They open a file. Perjury is a felony in Arizona, Class 4, punishable by up to 3 years in prison. I don't know if they'll actually prosecute, but I know she's not sleeping well these days. Every time her phone rings, she's probably wondering if it's a process server with a criminal summons. And honestly, I don't feel bad about that. I'm not telling you this story because I want sympathy. I knew what I was getting into. 44 years old, marrying a woman 14 years younger. Everyone warned me. My foreman, my accountant, even my own mother. I didn't listen. I'm telling you this story because of what I learned. Protect yourself. Document everything. And never, ever assume someone loves you enough to play fair when money is on the line. That prenup wasn't just a piece of paper. It was armor. When everything went wrong, when she tried to burn my life to the ground with a fabricated story, that contract held. The cameras held. The evidence held. She thought she could handle me. She thought she was smarter than some blue-collar guy who smelled like concrete and diesel fuel. She thought she could outmaneuver me in court with her interior design degree and her expensive lawyer and her crocodile tears. She was wrong. The business is stronger now than it's ever been. I hired 2 new employees, bought a 4th F5850, even took a long weekend in Flagstaff last month. First real time off I'd had in 4 years. I got to keep my trucks. I got to keep my equipment. I got to keep the business I spent 15 years building from nothing. And I got to watch a woman who lied to a judge's face walk out of that courthouse with nothing but debt and regret. The tracking system that caught her is still running. The cameras are still recording. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I learned something valuable. Trust, but verify. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And never, ever underestimate the power of keeping good records. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up at 5:30. I'm going to drive to the job site. I'm going to check on my equipment, and I'm going to keep building, because that's what I do. I build things, and nobody, not her, not the courts, not some guy in a white BMW, is ever going to take that away from me. I've come too far to stop fighting for what I built. You know what the funny thing is? The whole time this was happening, while she was scheming and lying and meeting Cole Peterson in mall parking lots, I was out there every day doing honest work. Pouring foundations, framing walls, installing steel beams that'll hold up buildings for the next 50 years. While she was sitting in that BMW talking about how to steal half my company, I was training my crew, making sure every concrete pour met code, every weld passed inspection. While she was texting her sister about how screwed she'd be if she left, I was building relationships with general contractors, earning repeat business through quality work and fair prices. The irony isn't lost on me. She spent all that energy trying to figure out how to take what I'd built. And I spent that same time actually building more. That's the difference between people like me and people like her. She saw my success as something to be harvested. I saw it as something to be earned, day by day, contract by contract, one satisfied customer at a time. Anderson called me last week with an update. Ashley's lawyer filed a motion to reduce the fee award, claiming financial hardship. Johnson argued that $87,000 was excessive, that her client couldn't possibly pay it all at once. The judge denied the motion. He said Ashley should have considered her financial situation before engaging in bad faith litigation. He said if she was concerned about legal fees, she shouldn't have lied under oath and forced the court to waste months untangling her fabrications. Now, she's on a payment plan, $200 a month for the next 6 years. Every month, she has to write a check to Anderson's office, and Anderson cuts me a check for my portion. It's like she's paying rent on the life she tried to steal from me. I don't spend that money on anything frivolous. It goes straight into the business equipment fund. New tools, truck maintenance, safety equipment for the crew. Seems appropriate somehow. The money she has to pay for lying is going right back into building something real. My mother called me the other day. She's 74, lives in a retirement community in Mesa. I don't visit enough, but I called her right after the final hearing, told her everything was settled. She said something that stuck with me. "Shane, you were always the kid who read the instructions before putting together a toy. Your brother would just start jamming pieces together, but you'd spread out all the parts, read every step twice. I'm not surprised you thought to get a prenup. I'm not surprised you kept those cameras running." She's right. I've always been the type to measure twice, cut once. Check the foundation before you pour. Read the contract before you sign. It served me well in construction, and apparently, it served me well in marriage too. The tracking system that saved me is still running on all my vehicles. Not because I'm paranoid, but because it's good business. I know where my equipment is, how efficiently my crews are working, how much fuel we're burning. Data doesn't lie. Numbers don't have hidden agendas. People ask me if I'll ever get married again. Honest answer? I don't know. But if I do, you can bet there'll be a prenup, and cameras, and lawyers who bill $350 an hour to make sure every comma is in the right place. Some people might think that's cynical. I call it smart. Love is about trust and faith and all those beautiful things they write songs about. Marriage is a legal contract with financial implications. You can have both, but you'd better treat each one according to what it actually is. I sleep well these days. My accounts are unfrozen. My credit is restored. My business is growing. I've got 3 new commercial projects starting next month, a shopping center renovation in Tempe, and a warehouse expansion in Chandler. Every morning, when I get to the job site, I see my guys already setting up, checking their tools, looking at the day's plans. These are good people who show up on time, work hard, take pride in what they build. They're counting on me to keep the company strong, to win the contracts that keep them employed. Ashley never understood that part. She saw the money I made, but not the responsibility that came with it. She saw the equipment and the accounts receivable, but not the 4 a.m. phone calls when something breaks down, not the liability insurance that keeps me awake at night, not the constant pressure to bid jobs right, so we stay competitive but profitable. She wanted the lifestyle without understanding what it takes to sustain it. She wanted to be married to a successful contractor without respecting the work that made the success possible. That's fine. She's someone else's problem now. Or, more accurately, she's her own problem. Cole Peterson moved on to easier targets. Her parents are tired of supporting a 32-year-old daughter with expensive tastes, and the legal bills keep coming every month. Me, I'm building. Tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m., just like always. Because that's what I do. I build things that last. Things that matter, things that no judge, no lying ex-wife, no smooth-talking BMW salesman can ever take away from me. That prenup wasn't just armor, it was a foundation. And foundations, when you build them right, hold up everything that matters.